8. Recently, the Phoenix Suns punched their ticket back into the NBA playoffs after a long absence. And here to talk about the Suns and their return to the playoffs in this Sports Refuge podcast NBA playoff preview is longtime Suns fan Anthony Bartholomew. Thank you, Anthony, for being on the show. I really appreciate it, especially being a part of this. And I know you have to be excited, especially with the Suns making their return to the postseason.
Yeah, first off, thank you for having me. But yeah, I'm really excited, man. It's been too long.
For you, what led to you becoming a fan of the Suns, and how long have you been a fan?
Just being the home team, but I went with my dad one time and just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the game, and it was the 08 season, 09 season.
And what was it that was so exciting about those Suns teams?
Well, they had Shaq at the time, so that first game I went to was against Memphis, and it was when he cleared the bench. He was about to dive into the crowd and everything, so I loved that whole thing. And I mean, they were destroying the Grizzlies at the time by like 50. So I was like, oh yeah, this is the team.
Is there a very memorable moment as a Suns fan that sticks out to you?
If it's that Shaq one or the time Stoudemire posterized Anthony Tolliver, that I hadn't been hyped for a play in a while like that.
Yeah, and I think Amari Stoudemire, he's one of that generation of Suns all-stars. I always think of course, Dan Marley, Kevin Johnson, of course, Steve Nash, and the array of guys that were there. But I mean, I know Amari Stoudemire, you can't think of the long line of Phoenix Suns players without putting his name up there in the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably our guy when it goes down to everything.
Coming into the season, what were the expectations for the Suns? What were you expecting? I know Chris Paul coming there, and feel like sometimes he can be a bit of a kingmaker, especially looking at how he turned around the Clippers and really gave the Thunder some life after being swapped from Houston. But what were you thinking that Chris Paul could do for the Suns, and what did you think about the Suns' chances for playoffs in general?
Just after the bubble, obviously we did so well. I expected playoffs, but when we got Chris Paul, I thought contenders. I actually had tweeted, if I can read that real quick, if that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
So I tweeted out top 4 seed, top 5 defense, top 3 offense, Western Conference Finals is what I had it as.
And I mean, a player of that caliber, along with Bledsoe, I mean, it really can do a lot. It's interestingly enough, that was a guy I know the Clippers didn't want to give up for Chris Paul to get him, and now they're actually playing on the same team, which is so crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Do you what is the most unique piece of memorabilia, Suns related memorabilia or clothing item that you have?
I don't know anything unique. I was trying to think of it when you sent me the questions, and I can't think of anything unique. I just have a few autographs, maybe Morris twins signed hat. I know there's a hate relationship with them, so I guess that could be unique, but nothing really like out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm. What is that relationship with the Morris twins? I can only wonder that what is it that fans? I mean, what makes it so acrimonious between the Morrises and Suns fans?
I personally don't have a problem with one of them. I think it was just like their legal issues that they had. They were fighting people apparently, and then just us being kind of a disappointment in one of the years just didn't work. And then Markeith choking out one of our players on the bench when he was with us, so that kind of turned me off to him. But I like Marcus. That's probably not a very popular opinion, but I love Marcus.
Was there a point that you were extremely confident they were making the playoffs? And I know you ran down really pretty much the laundry list of things that you felt the Suns were going to do with Chris Paul. But what 100% gave you that confidence that, okay, they're making the playoffs?
Just beating the playoff teams, honestly. I think we have one win against Denver, sweeping the Jazz. I mean, is everything. Just their defense. We haven't seen defense like that probably in a long time.
Was there a point that you were concerned that they weren't going to make the playoffs? I know, especially now with the play-in and basically the playoffs expanding to 10 teams per conference. Were you concerned that they could easily miss out?
Not really, but there was a little bit of a scare of getting like a lower seed at the beginning of the season when they hit 8-8. But other than that, I mean, I pretty much knew they were going to make the playoffs.
Looking in the Western Conference playoffs, who do you feel the Suns match up the best with?
The best, probably the Nuggets or the Mavericks.
What is it that you feel like makes them a better fit to take on those teams like Denver and Dallas?
As far as Denver, I mean, fortunately they lost Murray, so I think that gives us a slight upper hand with them. And the games have always been close between those two teams as well. Always fun to watch. And we've come out on top for the most part against those teams, so pretty confident.
Mm-hmm. Who are the teams in the West that scare you? I know that the first thing that everybody's going to say is probably maybe the Lakers. I assume that's going to be a team. I mean, and then just looking at the standings, I know that other teams that might play a little bit of a concern for everybody might be well, I assume the Clippers might be something that gives everybody a scare as well, but you never know, especially seeing how last year they didn't fare so well when they had the opportunity to put teams away.
Yeah, honestly, those are the two teams that I'm afraid of, but Lakers aren't looking so hot right now.
I guess, what about the Jazz? I was curious. You guys are tied with the Jazz at this moment as of May 3rd, tied for really first and ahead by conference wins. Well, by an overwhelming margin. But do the Jazz concern you at all?
Yeah. I mean, they're a solid team too. I mean, they didn't have Mitchell in the last meeting against them, and we blew them out. So yeah, that's probably another team that I would say we match up pretty well against.
I know everybody's been talking about Chris Paul, and they always talk about Bledsoe, but who else has been a factor on the Suns that have really played a role in their success?
The man, Devin Booker. He just won Player of the Week, actually. So, yeah, that man, he's been cold. People have been sleeping.
And what is it that he does so well?
Just like Chris Paul, he gets to his spots. That mid-range is insane. It's Kobe-esque.
And when those, especially when you think about just that array and that firepower, what is it that the Suns do so well? And I know you mentioned getting to their spots and making their shots, but what else do you feel like this team does well?
They have really good chemistry. So on defense, they're just able to lock people up. Obviously, they have their off nights, but who doesn't? But yeah, just their effort, especially getting Torrey Craig, man, they look good.
How key was it to have a coach like Monty Williams? I know that he had to deal with some personal. He didn't have the luck that he should have had in New Orleans and things like that. But seeing him be able to get that opportunity again to coach, how much of a difference maker is a coach like Monty Williams?
It's huge. It's been huge. He's just instilled this family culture, so it just brings everyone together and everyone's on the same page. He preaches ball movement. I think he was an assistant with Popovich, so that helps a lot.
And I feel like, especially, it seems like the way things have been going in New Orleans, it's like sometimes one team's loss is another team's gain, and he really, and the Suns have really benefited from it.
Yeah, definitely.
Looking at the NBA Finals prediction, who do you have coming out of the Eastern Conference? Who do you have coming out of the Western Conference? Who wins the Finals? And in how many games?
Obviously, Suns for the West. Their play the last couple weeks has got me changing from Western Conference to the actual Finals. But East, probably Milwaukee, but I feel like that one's just open-ended on these. There's just like 3 or 4 like real solid teams, and I could see it going either way.
Do you feel like there's too much hype for Brooklyn right now, or do you feel like they've earned that height and recognition?
I mean, we haven't seen the 3 really play together, so I'm gonna say hype, but I know that's not very popular. Everyone pretty much has them as the favorites.
Yeah, and I always think that sometimes the talent overcome the drama that comes with those players, especially how Harden found his way out of Houston, and then everything with Durant and just sort of the injuries, and then Kyrie taking time off for extended periods for while they may be important personal reasons, but you got to worry that what happens when they finally come together. Will it be one of those things, or will it be like that one? Well, those couple, I like using them as example. That one Lakers team with Shaq, Kobe, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton, or that one Lakers team with Kobe, Paul Gasol, Steve Nash, and Dwight Howard. It could implode easily just as well as it could succeed.
I mean, they could probably do some damage next season. I think, just like you're saying, the Durant injuries, it just makes it interesting. Kyrie, and then I think Harden's fine. I mean, he led his team for years.
I know you have Suns and Bucks. Who do you think comes out of winning the Finals, and in how many games?
I'd say 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. Suns.
What do you feel makes us so confident that Suns pull it out in an extended series?
I mean, I know the regular season's different from the playoffs and everything, but I mean, we won the 2 matchups, and they were both really close games and just really exciting. So honestly, I could see it going either way, but just being a Suns fan, I'm going to say us.
And Anthony, I really appreciate you taking your time out of the busy schedule to do it, especially with the time difference and things like that. Anybody you want to give shout outs to, anything you want to promote, just feel free to.
Not really. Just thank you for having me. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's @thebleachedmax. And that's about it.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And what we'll do is we'll talk a little more off air once we end the broadcast. But again, anybody who's out there who's a fan of some of the teams in the playoffs that we haven't touched on yet, of course, looking for Bucks fans, looking for Clippers fans, that always seems to be the toughest thing, looking for Atlanta Hawks fans, because, especially living in the Delaware area, it's a little tough trying to find Atlanta Hawks fans. I'm surprised I've actually found, somebody outside of a Sixers fan around here. But again, I really appreciate it, Anthony. Thank you so much for hanging in there. We'll talk a little bit offline. And for everybody who's been listening, keep your eyes up for the next alert for the next live stream. Of course, we're going to put this all together with all of the teams in the playoff front, all 20 teams now. It's so weird saying that, but we'll do a whole compilation episode and run it the day the playoffs begin, or maybe a little bit before that. For once again, everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again.